If you're feeling sticker shock after opening your property tax assessment, you're not alone. Well, Salle County's Chief Assessment Officer says that shouldn't be happening. And she points directly to township assessors who she says aren't doing their sworn duty to keep up with property values. Hi, and thanks to Kathleen Wayland of Wayland Financial at 128 Buckland in LaSalle for sponsoring this weekend cup of coffee. I spoke this week on the phone with the county's Chief Assessment Officer, Stephanie Kennedy, to try to get to the bottom of this situation. Here's that call. Explain to me, like I'm a sixth grader, exactly what's happened this year that's different from years past, and why things seem to be so much higher in the assessment area.
Gotcha. Okay, so assessments are lower than that 33 1/3 of market value that is required by law, versus the sale prices that continue to sell are much higher.
Mm-hmm.
So what that does is it causes a multiplier. When the assessment is low,
mm-hmm.
It needs to be at 33 1/3 of market, and we're going to average that to get it to 33 in a market and apply a multiplier. The multipliers were extremely high last year, and I can tell you that the average was 13%. We have 37 townships. 28 of them range from 13% to 16%. 8 of them, 6% to 11%, and I can tell you that they're the bigger towns. One was at 0.9979 due to that township did their quadrennial in 2023, and that quad reassessment kept that township closer to the 33 1/3. So that's why.
So the multiplier is almost like 1 in that one, or barely 1, yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So now, that's going to change as time goes on because it's an average of 3 years. So that township has to keep doing what they're supposed to do, or they're going to get extremely high.
Tell me what the townships should be doing, and are there townships that haven't been doing what they're supposed to be doing that got us to this point?
Yes, and that is they have not done their quadrennials. They are supposed to look at property every 4 years. And what I am finding throughout LaSalle County is that the higher the multipliers go, the higher it gets the people that are assessed higher. There's tax dollars that are going up way more because whatever the tax rate is. But a multiplier on a $50,000 assessment versus an $8,000 assessment, and that home may be sold for $70,000. That is what is being subject to these high multipliers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That makes sense.
So, but yes, so essentially, if the township people are conducting business the way they're supposed to be every year, and keeping assessments in line with that, then it shouldn't be a shock every couple of years, correct?
Correct.
Can you name a couple of egregious examples of people who just aren't getting the work done?
There's a lot of them that have not been doing the work. When you see that, I just told you that 28 out of 37 multipliers ranged from 13% to 16%.
Right.
That's a lot of stuff not being done correctly.
All right. So we have, how many townships do we have where we have supervisors to take care of the assessments? In LaSalle County.
The assessors, well, they're either going to be elected or contracted
mm-hmm.
or appointed.
Okay.
So I can't tell you off the top of my head. I know we have 16 assessors. I would say generally most of them are contracted.
You have less than half the people you need.
Well, some of them are multi-townships, the smaller ones.
Okay.
So they require an assessor. They don't necessarily have an assessor, some of them, so they have to contract an assessor that's, certified, that has a certification in order to do that. So that assessor, like one assessor I know, she probably has like 6 or 7 townships, but she's elected in one and contracts the other one.
I see. Okay. It makes sense because there are so many different townships with different sizes and everything else.
Yes.
Stephanie, let me ask you, what is the structure of these then? None of these people report into you, correct?
They turn their work into me. to the townships.
Mm-hmm.
Their deadline date by law is June 15th every year. And then we process their work, and then the multipliers then come from their work, the SA work, and we also have to put in certified farmland, and there's other things that we have to do here.
Okay.
But the multiplier strictly is really coming based off of what those assessors have the property assessed at versus the market.
Versus the market.
That's where the multipliers come from, and that's where we're having the problem.
How do we fix this?
Legislators,
Okay.
possibly.
It's not at the county level, it's a state level?
Yeah, I actually am only by law, I give them instructions each year. I have an instructional meeting, which I do.
To the assessors?
They're very, yes,
Mm-hmm.
very, very full aware of what their job duties are. They take an oath for that job. They know their job duties. They continue to not fulfill their oath. If you watch a few of the online meetings,
Yeah. The county meetings. The county meeting. You're talking about the county meetings. Yeah.
It's gonna be the GIS. It's gonna be taxes, elections, and GIS.
That committee. Okay.
I've been on there a lot, Tom.
I've seen you in there on the videos.
You might want to watch some of those because a lot of that stuff might, also help with this situation.
Gotcha.
I do have something else.
Please.
That I would like to advise to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
Is I would like to them to learn more about the property tax cycle, and they can go to our website www.lasallecountйл.gov and choose the assessment department. We have added so much new information on there to try to help taxpayers get some of the questions answered, and most of all of our forms are out there online. And lastly, I would really want them to pay attention to their tax bill current and see what their market value is. If they honestly do not believe that they can get that for their home, they need to do an appeal with the Board of Review.
I did a story on that, and it is possible to do it, but you need to have a lot of patience and time, don't you, if you want to appeal?
You have to be able to prove your case, of course.
No, so you have to, you have to pull everything together,
But also, if you look on our website, most of the information's out there.
Right.
We have our GIS out there. That sales ratio I was explaining about is out there. We just recently put a lot of stuff out there for our county board members, for our taxpayers. We've been referring a lot of them to look at our website. Some of these questions will be answered through the website. We have added stuff from the Department of Revenue, publications, things that are right there. Everything's together, and it's on our website.
Stephanie Kenny, let me ask you this. So, if we could just restate it, if we could come away with one thing to hang this story on, which is what can we do to fix this going forward, it is to just have what can you do except tell people to be vigilant? Is there anything else to tell people about, staying on top of things or getting the assessors to stay on top of things? What can we do right now to keep this from happening again?
Go to township meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Call the assessor. Ask the assessor the last time they've been to their property. Ask them if they are doing their quadrennial every 4 years, which by law they have to view every property.
Okay. So it's all decentralized since they don't have a person to report into. You've got essentially 16 assessors out there as independent contractors, whether elected.
Elected officials are contracted, and I personally, the SA, my job is to equalize, take care of exemptions. Mm-hmm. We have the GIS here, the mapping, the, commercial, industrial. That is what they take their oath for, is to do the residential property of these townships.
Okay, that's fair.
That's the biggest amount of parcels that you have. So if that's not being done correctly in that first step, then it comes to me. I get the Department of Revenue sales ratio study, see what they're assessed at, see what things sold for, and then we have to equalize the county here, and then it moves on from that to the levies and the taxing bodies.
Okay.
What do they need?
All right.
You know, it just keeps going up a level. So it's not any one player, but it would be nice if we could have the assessors, which are the very first step, really pay attention and get their job done right.
So to summarize, if the 16 assessors in LaSalle County were to stay on top of everything the way they're sworn to do, and if the residents of the county, just as property owners, could just sort of keep track, a mental track of where things are year to year, they can see if there's any kind of change, a big change coming. If the assessors are doing their job, the residents can see incremental increases or whatever instead of a big balloon every couple of years.
Everything you said is really good, except for the reason that the assessors, when the taxpayers, when the bills go out, publication, when we send out notices of any changes for the year 2024, okay, we send out our notices, changes being made by demolitions or permits, new homes, you know, decks added, this and that. But what it doesn't do, we have to publish the multipliers. We don't send notice by mail. So we publish those on our website, and we publish in the newspaper.
So basically,
and that's what we have to do by law. So that multiplier that we talked about, the tax rates, probably most of them, because they're so high, went down a little bit, I would think. I don't know that.
Sure.
You would have to talk to the clerk's office. But I imagine that because the high multipliers, that they ended up having a lot more EAV, and they levy in December. So, you know, I don't know what the tax rates all ended up being.
Right.
I haven't had time to look at that.
Yeah.
But because the state doesn't mandate that we send out just for a multiplier only change, that multiplier is so big that it really makes a big difference in some people's dollars they're going to pay. So
the first step then is just to restate it, is if it's the multiplier that's killing us, then to try to inoculate ourselves against that the best we can. It's never going to be complete, certainly, but the assessors are out there then and keeping track, and the homeowners are out there keeping track, and that will prevent it is less likely to allow for a big scare. When you open.
A big, huge jump.
Yep.
Again, check out the county's website for more information. Ultimately, though, it's just like anything else. Nothing really substitutes for vigilance right from the start. Thanks to Kathleen Wayland of Wayland Financial in LaSalle for always sponsoring this Weekend Reset. Have a great Father's Day, too, and a great week.